I concur on the hair. I'm working on 3 different things right now, and I have a short gray wig for one, a long brown wig for one, and this is my Succession hair. And in the last 2 weeks, I've been on each show, and I'm flying to different cities. And before the camera rolls, I just look down and I just see what the hair is, and then there I am.
So true.
If I didn't have the wigs, I'd be in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to the SAG-AFTRA Foundation's Conversations at Home program. I'm Carla Sosenko, culture editor at Newsweek. If you're interested in programming like this from SAG-AFTRA Foundation, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our YouTube channel. Now it's my pleasure to have our panel of Emmy-nominated guest actresses in drama: Hope Davis, Sanaa Lathan, Harriet Walter, Marcia Harden, and Martha Kelly. Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
How's everybody doing?
Good.
It's Saturday night.
That's great.
Congratulations to all of you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Is this like, does it feel as amazing as I imagine as someone who cannot act and has no success in that arena? Does it feel as amazing as I imagine it does to be nominated?
I think it feels awesome.
Very unreal. Very unreal. I heard about it on a rainy evening in Tewkesbury in the middle of England, so it didn't make much sense. It's growing on me.
First of all,
I think for this, when you're a guest on a show, you kind of pop on and you're there for a day or two, and then you go about your life. So it does. This category in particular, it does feel you don't expect it. Certainly, I did.
Yeah, I was on vacation in Colorado, staying at a friend's house, and got a call at like 9 a.m, and I was actually kind of annoyed. I had no idea that there were nominations, and I was like, why are these people calling me so early? And I get on, congratulations. I had no idea. I was like, for what? You've been nominated for what? An Emmy. I said, for what? Like, I literally did not expect it. Such a surprise, such a delightful shock and surprise.
I think the same. I hadn't followed that they were doing the announcements. And so I was upstate in New York. I was just finished throwing a wedding for my nephew who got married on my property, which, you think, oh, I'll just be there as a guest, but it's on your property. So you're like hauling the trash, doing all this stuff on the tractor. And the publicist called and said, do you want really good news? And I thought, yes. I thought, I didn't know what to expect. I was thinking something had opened up or some, whatever, a show was opening. I don't know what. And then they said the nomination, and I was so happy. And then I was so happy that Hope and just we were all here together. It was just wonderful. I didn't expect it either.
Martha, were you as surprised as everybody else was?
I'm still in shock and somewhat having nervous breakdown as a more of a stand-up comic than an actor, but it's lovely. It's just mystifying, but very lovely. Yeah.
I have to say, I watched Euphoria, and when you would come on, I was like, who is that? You were brilliant. I was like, did they get a real drug dealer? And she's so strange and scary and funny. I just loved your work. And I have to just say this to all of you ladies. I have such huge fans, just been watching you for years. And so it's exciting for me to be amongst you all.
Me too.
Yeah.
I know you all by reputation. Some I've seen, but in Britain we're not getting Euphoria yet. We're not getting some of the shows. So I really just know my Succession sisters.
You're all
crazy on that like Succession. I mean.
Okay, so let's talk about that for a sec. I mean, we have a lot to cover. And the first thing I wanted to say, Martha, is that yes, you are a stand-up comedian, but you play one of the most terrifying characters I've ever seen in my life. So, yeah.
Well, Yeah, I think there's something really chilling about a mild-mannered sociopath. And like I don't watch a lot of crime documentaries, but the ones where it's like a likable sociopath, the damage they cause is really terrifying. So yeah, it's a scary character.
Very scary. Okay, so yes, I should probably mention the shows that you're all on, even though I'm sure everybody watching knows. Sanaa, Hope, Harriet, you are all nominated for Succession. Marcia, you're nominated for The Morning Show, and Martha, you're nominated for Euphoria. So,
is there one other nominee?
Yes. Lee Yu-mi from Squid Game is also nominated as a guest in a drama, but she's not here today. Okay. So we'll have to just kind of send our maybe Instagram DM messages of we're not worthiness, or I will. You're all amazingly worthy. Okay, Sanaa, you kind of touched on this a little bit when you were talking about being a fan of one another. I'm wondering, is the feeling of being, first of all, the fact that all of you were so completely just like, oh, I didn't know the nominations were coming. Oh, I was annoyed. Who's calling me so early? That to me, and I think Hope you said something about this too, is like, I'm guessing has to do with the category, right? Of being a guest actress or actor in a show. And I'm wondering, how is that experience different in terms of the way that you work, whether it's your prep or the experience that you have once you come into a show that has an established ensemble cast? What is that like as an artist to come in as a guest actor?
But you feel like the new kid coming into school, where all the kids have been going to school together since kindergarten. So that it's for me, at least, I felt that way. And, I've done it several times, joining, doing guest arcs and then you always feel that way, no matter how much experience you get. And especially on such a, acclaimed show, who I was already a fan of it because I had just binged it once I got the offer. And, for me, it was in the middle of the scary part of the pandemic. So I almost didn't do it because it was a scary time to fly back then. I mean, it still is actually, but this was like when things first opened up and you had to wear I was wearing my wig and my Spanx and my mask and a shield, and you're coming into a new place and you're like, huh, what are you, it was definitely discombobulating at first, but you show up because the work was so exciting to me, the writing and the acting, and clearly it was worth it.
Yeah, I will say that it's an intimidating set to step on. And I was a massive fan of the show. Harriet, just what you've done with your part. I'm so glad you're not my mother. And I was so nervous stepping onto the set. I just wanted to, it's like jumping onto a speeding train. And you want to think that you're gonna, be good enough, and you're gonna hold the show up. For me, I was walking towards the makeup room and I heard Brian Cox's voice just booming, who for me is Logan Roy. I just heard his voice booming out of the makeup room and I started sweating. But I walked in and it was so lovely, and the cast was they helped me so much, because for me, the thing is knowing my lines. If I feel really secure in what I'm going to say, then I can relax. And they sat with me and ran lines over and over and over again, till by the time we were ready to shoot, I was ready to go. But it's kind of nerve-wracking, I think, being a guest, because you are just like a new kid. You don't know anyone's name. You don't know who to ask, who's props and who's an AD. And but it's also real, then you just like pack your suitcase up and go home. You're not committed to it. So that's kind of freeing.
Yeah, I had a slightly different experience. Luckily for me, I didn't go in knowing it was a great hit. I went into season 1 I'd seen the pilot, I thought this is completely out there and no brainer to accept the job. And then sort of I walk into a room full of the people I've watched. Brian Cox, would you believe, taught me at drama schools, and I've played Vershinin and Marcia with him. And, you know, so that was okay. We've been married before. But it was, I had the advantage of being in my own country because the cast and crew flew over to Britain. So in a way, they were my guests as well as I was their guest, and it leveled things up a bit, made me less scared. I could show them around. I could tell them where to eat. You know, that altered the chemistry slightly. Second season round, I'm going, yikes, because I'd seen the whole thing and realized just what a brilliant, genius, extraordinary show it was. And I was actually more nervous as I had to fit in to the following seasons because they were even more well-oiled. And it's a funny thing to be a guest at your own family, you know, like, hi, I'm your mother, how'd you do? That's the strange chemistry. But like Sanaa said, they just such an embracing cast. I mean, they're so cordial and friendly and welcoming, and you don't feel like an idiot, and they laugh at your jokes even if you're not funny, and it's great.
And they want you to do well. That's the hard thing. You go and you feel like, how can I give myself permission to make the choices and to make even costume choices or character choices? Because don't they all know? And will it be okay? Is it right what I'm doing? But they've cast you because they have an idea of it. But for me, the hardest part was just to give myself permission to walk onto the set and say, I know what to do. You can be this actor, and then to be in a scene with for morning shows with Reese or Billy Crudup or Jennifer, and to think we can play together, even though I'm the guest star. So it was because the level of intimidation that everyone else is saying is there. It was always there. But then, like for me, with the scenes with Jennifer, I just got to watch her work. I mean, she did all the hard stuff. She did all the heavy lifting, and I got to just watch her limp down the hallway and be funny and do these amazing things. And then you realize, well, we are playing, and they do want the strongest choices you can make, because that's why we get to be the guest stars. They want a strong choice for someone who can take the story to the next level. And it always felt really good to get there, to do it. And then, like Hope said, then you go home and you don't have the burden of the whole show. But I think anytime I'm a guest star, there's a part of me that's like, oh, I would like to be on this show more. I'd like to do more. I'd like to be in it more. This is fun.
I'll just say that I was very intimidated by Zendaya because she is such a powerhouse, and she was just really easygoing and very sweet. I know it was probably awkward to have someone be that nervous around her, but she was lovely, and like now my niece and nephew are finally actually impressed by a job that I've had, which is exciting. So, but yeah, it was intimidating, but everyone was really nice. So it ended up being as fun as it could be considering the subject matter, you know.
It's really interesting for me to hear all of you with the credits that you have and the accolades that you've gotten. You all talked about being nervous, and what's really, I think powerful is that obviously this is SAG-AFTRA Foundation, so the people that are watching us are actors, and they want to be where you are. And I'm just wondering, does that ever go away? Is it just, or maybe it's not a bad thing that you stay a little bit nervous even when you've accomplished so much? Is it like particularly the guest role thing, or is there like part of being an actor and part of that's like you're always hustling that means you're always also a little bit nervous?
I mean, for me, I'm always nervous before every time I walk on stage in a play that I've been doing for months. when I was young and I was auditioning, I had such bad nerves that my hands would be like ice cubes. And I realized that when I was reaching forward to shake someone's hand, they were kind of startling and then they were immediately put off. So I did this thing where I would bake potatoes in the oven before I had a big audition, a theater audition, then I'd wrap in tinfoil, put them in my pockets, up to 42nd Street. So when I whipped my hand out to shake, I was like, hello, I seemed like I had myself together. But for me, I feel like the nerves are part of what helps me focus. I'm not distracted doing a million other things for days before I shoot. I'm not really thinking about anything else. And that's what allows me to be prepared when I step into the room. But it is, it's like you wish you didn't have to have that feeling because it's not a good feeling. I mean, does everyone else have the level of nerves that I have before they shoot?
Yeah, I mean, I think that nerves mean that you care. And I think that when you're in this business, which we know it's not for the faint of heart, you got to care a lot. And I find that, just even in my theater days, when you're doing 8 shows a week, if there was ever a night where I wasn't nervous going on stage, those were the worst shows because I don't know, there's some kind of electricity that happens that when you're nervous, as painful as it is, that I learned that if I'm not nervous, I get nervous, that something's missing.
I'm going to throw in devil's advocate. Sorry, I know there's a delay, so it's quite. I don't enjoy nerves. I try to convert them into excitement. My brain said, this is not fight or flight. This is fight. It's not flight. And I try that chaos that goes on in your body. I try to channel it into, this is great. This is so exciting. But I don't find I do my best performance when I'm nervous. Absolutely not. I'm much better when I'm relaxed, further down the run of a play, or when I'm sort of caught off guard and being really spontaneous occasionally. Those are when I think I do my best work because my brain does function then, and my brain doesn't function when it's a steam of nerves. So that's my side of it. If you're talking to young actors, they're going to experience both those things, I expect.
Yeah.
I did have a teacher once who said, when you're being really nervous, especially on stage, it's because you're sort of worried about the audience. And they said that the life of the character is more important than what anybody else would think about you. But I think all of us said our nerves were kind of specific to like going into someone else's house. It wasn't our house. It wasn't our shows. We're going to someone else's house who's been living there in the middle of the party. And you're supposed to come in and suddenly take on a position in their house, in that party. And you just want to know, did I hit it the right way? And a lot of times in film, and in this case in television, it's you don't have the rehearsal that you had in theater. So you don't have the chance to fall on your face and then stand back up and figure out what works for the room. It's like, and hi, I'm your wife. Hello. And I'm your lover. Let's go. And it's really fast. So you have to make really fast decisions and deliver really quickly. And I think that maybe feeds into it as well.
And to your point, Harriet, there is a fine line. I mean, it is like two sides of the same coin, nerves and excitement. And that is the work. Like if I were talking to a young actor, I would be like, you're always going to be nervous, but it's literally a mental game to shift over to excitement. And it's all mental. And so
and prepare. Like
right.
Prepared. Which I wonder, Martha, if that's true for you in the comedy world.
Yeah. And I'm nervous most of the time, including during this. But with with stand-up, I always definitely know what I'm going to talk about. And with acting, because I've only been doing it for a few years, I just am like, I show up knowing my lines and show up on time in a good mood. And then at least I know I do everything I can. And then the acting part, the director will either say, that was great, or can you try it differently? Or worst case scenario, they might say, sorry, you're fired, but at least it won't be. If that happens, I always feel like Well, it won't be because I messed up something that I could have tried harder at. And then it's sort of out of my hands. And I don't take it as personally as I take stand-up. Like if I don't have a good stand-up show, I take it really hard, which most comics do. But with acting, it's a little bit more magical because I feel like, well, I can do my part and then everything else is out of my hands. And it's also a group effort, which is really fun. It's one of the things I love about it. So.
Yeah.
I think
I just want to make one little addendum to my, I'm so nervous when I work. When the camera goes on, I completely relax. And in the case of something like Session, when that camera starts rolling and those people are talking and Sarah Snook is talking, and I mean, it's so exciting and you're just completely in it. And, sorry, my being
Sorry, I
delayed.
didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no, that's okay.
One of the things that was just shockingly refreshing on Succession was that it really is, they do super long takes. So there's a scene, one of my first scenes that I shot was in Kendall's apartment, his ex-wife's apartment. And literally before the camera got to me, they had shot 3 separate scenes. It's moving through the house with all these different characters. So it's really kind of like a play. You know, you have to, it was a different feeling. And I felt like it was very refreshing in that respect because you get more, there's more of a momentum.
Never thought about Succession like a play, but you're right. I mean, obviously
in terms of the shooting style, like, I was really surprised by that. So I'm like sitting, waiting, like they would call action, and you're actually sitting. I was sitting for like, almost 5 minutes before the camera gets to you. So you're, and then of course they go in for coverage, but like the master, I mean, I think that's part of the brilliance too, is how they shoot it.
No, I was just saying they always give you an extra take to play around with, to, once they know they've got what they want, they free it up to an improv, which, you're not going to go wild on the improv, but you can loosen things up and maybe something new will come out of it. And they always keep in those little things you do. And that makes it fun as well.
Yeah.
That was actually a question that I had because all of you play pretty tenacious women in different ways. Martha, yours is probably the only. Well, I don't know if you're the only sociopath. Actually, you might be the only drug dealer / human trafficker. But in terms of improv and in terms of, and this I'm sure differs from project to project, how much of what you have made these characters would you say, like how much room did you have? How much of it was you kind of playing around and making, Marcia, the kinds of decisions that you were talking about and being able to improv or just kind of like go with it? I'm curious about that process.
On morning show, it's pretty much the word. You do the word that was written, and we didn't have a lot of improv, or at least I didn't have. I can't speak for the others, and what the regulars on the show probably had more. But for me, I had this great opportunity to understand a wonderful reporter named Maureen Dowd, who I kind of based my character on. She's this badass, redhead, sassy-ass reporter who worked for the New York Times. And she's asked these penetrating questions, and she causes trouble. I think Obama had even said about her once, "You're trouble, you're trouble." And I was like, okay, I want to know what that woman is like. And she's, my age range, sexy as hell, but smart. And so to kind of go, I want to play like her, that informed a lot of the choices for the character, Maggie, because Maureen doesn't give a lot away. She's not a diffusive person. For me, I'm like, if I'm feeling it, you can see it. It's in your face. So it was fun to play someone who's so much contained and was kind of pursuing this secret. And also in this world of Me Too, watching how the show was so beautifully written to look, it's not like looking at both sides, but looking at it wasn't just white. There was a lot of gray matter, which I think that's kind of what we discovered. And then there's that beautiful scene with Reese in the end where she kind of says, how can we have forgiveness in a society? How do we hold people accountable for, minor things that they did, minor misdemeanors they did when they were 20 years younger, when they didn't know. I thought it was kind of a very interesting turn around. So for me, I had someone to base it on, and that allowed a lot of boundaries were really helpful, because then I knew what to play within the boundaries.
How many cats?
Yeah, I when I saw the pilot of Succession, I thought, I'll never fit in here. This is so American. It's so American. And then I discovered that most of the writing team were actually British. And I kind of relaxed, because although I accepted it before there was no script for me yet. I mean, I saw the pilot, which was episode 1, and I was in 9 and 10, and they hadn't written that yet. Jesse just gave me an idea of what was going to happen. It's going to be your daughter's wedding, and you're going to go around telling people how long do you think it'll last, and stuff like that. That's all I knew. And I thought, I'll play with that. And then when I got there, I sort of got this confidence that Jessie knew this woman, and that she was a particular type of English woman that doesn't really exist in the same way in America. And I felt, I can have ownership of this little territory. This I do know about. I know this woman. And I wasn't having to fit into the American thing. And it was great that it was absolutely, that was what was required of me, if you like, was some, because when you're a guest, you think, I got to fit in. I got to join the party and size up what everybody else is like and doing and that. But you also have to cut across that, because you're a sort of new injection of chemistry. That's kind of part of what you're there for. So, and that's just built into the character, because Jessie sort of knows her in some way.
There's a whole play going on behind you.
I know.
I love it, though. I love
the cats.
They're walking in and out. They want to be part of the conversation.
They seem okay, though. They're not fighting. You were worried about.
No, they were wrestling a minute ago, which that often turns into a fight, but they stopped. But yeah, the big one on the bed, he's
trying to get on camera.
Yeah, and if I closed them out of the room, the big one right there, he would have been banging on the door and yelling. So
that's
trying to get a shot. Now
he's chilling now.
Got a round table under his belt. It's a very accomplished cat. How does it feel? You are competitors. I mean, that is true. You're competing in the same category, but I get the sense, and I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, that it feels very collegial, and it feels very supportive to me. And I'm wondering, am I right, or is it strange? Is there any competitiveness that you're feeling as we're all sitting here together talking about acting and the Emmys?
I've been in the business for my whole life, damn near. And I'm so honored, and you crave the recognition and the validation, at the highest level, which is the Emmys, and so that is such an honor. How do you compare? Like, if I were not nominated and I was looking at the four of you and I've seen all your performances, I don't know how somebody wins. It's all about taste. It's all about who you are as a person, as a voter. So for me, it's like the treat is just to have the recognition amongst you guys. Yeah.
That's so true.
I totally agree with Sanaa, because people never believe you when you say it's enough to be nominated, but it's true, because given that, I've just been watching the Wimbledon tournament, and you can see he won the game. He's best, even though they're pally at the end of it. They've been fiercely competitive, but then they kind of embrace, and they're friends, and I don't know what the backstage story is, but basically you can't be best in our world. It's kind of, it's a complete nonsense. It's fun perhaps it's fun for the viewers, perhaps it's fun for the producers, perhaps it's fun for the journalists. But for us, what's fun is our next job. And, you know, it's thankfully, it doesn't, you know, being nominated actually helps anyway. You know, you don't, I don't know. I always think I'm very happy to be remembered and included. I'm happy.
Same.
But don't tell the judges that, because
I feel the same way. I don't feel the least bit competitive about all of this. I think when all of it, you know, when we watch these shows, when you're watching the Oscars and they announce Best Actor, I mean, it could have been any of the 5 of those people, and they've all had amazing parts and been in great movies, and that's how this feels. You know, we've all been lucky enough to land wonderful parts on shows that have people, you know, that have people's attention. And, you know, if we all get to have a glass of champagne together somewhere, that'll be nice.
And you don't even know what people have seen. That's the other thing. Like when you're voting for Oscars or Emmys or SAG, you don't know. And once I said, I don't want to vote for things that I haven't seen, because then it's just a popularity contest. I want to vote for what I've seen. So then you really work hard to see, but other people may not have seen all of the work, and everyone is deserving. So yeah, I'm thrilled to be on this little Zoom with everybody and talk about the work of being an actor, which is just, we're all working. So like, that's our high, working and then being nominated. It's fantastic.
And for me, it's about also working on good material. You know, and getting the chance to work with people like you guys and work, because, you know, it's almost like I remember when I was young, a lot of people said your career is in your choices. Because it's like, you know, there's probably some brilliant actors out there that never got nominated for anything because they just made different choices that would never be recognized. But their talent and their skill is just as much, you know, on par. And just like you were saying with the tennis match, that's a competition. Acting, you have to, it is a collaboration. You can't rise above that collaboration. So it's kind of a different animal.
I'll just say that I am more of a fan of all of you than what I would consider a peer. And so I really do wish the nomination part was like the end, because then everyone just feels really like stoked. And there's no, but also it's true, like how many performances of people who weren't nominated and that are great. And I have such a admiration for actors and feel kind of like on the outside of it. And so it is like, it's wonderful to be with you ladies, and I'm a fan, and I'd never expected anything like this. So.
And I gotta say, Stan.
Well, I don't know about any of the others, but I don't think we could do what you do.
Exactly.
Well,
I think stand-up is a big gladiatorial deal.
It's I think with stand-up though, you don't have to let your guard down the way that actors have to let their guard down to let their emotions out on camera. And I really admire that, because to me that's emotionally much more risky than, you know, just telling jokes. Not that that isn't vulnerable, but not nearly the same way, just in my opinion. But yeah, I love you all. I'm really thrilled to be here. So
I don't know if you're a particularly warm and supportive and magnanimous group of actors, but this is really lovely. It's just to see everybody just kind of wanting to build everybody up. You know, the industry is certainly a hard one. I don't need to tell you all, you're in it. So yeah, just watching all of that is nice.
I think Katharine Hepburn said you can't be jealous of other actors because you've got to work with them. You know, whereas directors can be directors can be paranoid about other directors because what are they doing? Why did they win the Oscar and I didn't? But if you're an actor, you know the deal. If somebody doesn't win, they're not a failure. We know that because we've been around and we work and we run into one another all the time, and we realize that a huge percentage of why we're here is the team, where the script writing above all, and the team that goes into producing it. That's why we're here. We've done our bit. I'm not saying we didn't, but
I think it's worth mentioning. I know this might feel uncomfortable, but Harriet, you are also nominated in the guest actress for a comedy category.
Yeah, I've cancelled one other out. It's a competition for worst mother, actually.
Yeah, they're both kind of doozies. I think Succession. I think your character in Succession wins for worst mother.
Well, what is the character? What is the show for that
It's
one?
Ted Lasso. And Harriet, I have to say, I didn't know you were going to be on that. And when you came on in that wig, I yelled because I had, I love you on Succession. When you came on to that wig, I yelled to my entire family. I was like, "It's Harriet again!" And oh my God, you're
well.
just
The wig was there because I knew. Thank you. The wig was there because I knew I was going to do Succession in a month's time, and I thought I'm not going to mess with my hair, and I want to look different, and I want these people to be different, these women, because I've got a feeling that they think, oh, who does bad mother? Oh, we'll get her in, So I was very, very desperate to make them very different.
Well, you succeeded.
Thank you.
I feel like.
I have a curious, just a question for Harriet. When you were you working on those two women at the same time, or if they were both the bad mother, how do you do that when you're preparing? I'm just asking for the audience and I'm in my own curiosity. How do you do that when you're preparing for two roles at the same time that may have some similarities about them?
It's actually, I had a third one in a show that I don't know if it'll come to America. And the wigs helped. I had a white wig. I had a white wig for the third character you haven't seen yet. I had a blonde wig for the and then my own hair for Succession. So I'm being superficial here, but some people say, oh, I get my character from my shoes. I get so much from this.
Yeah.
I did consciously, as I had conversations with the writers saying, listen up, I've got a few nasty mothers coming up. And perhaps I'm subjective. I don't really believe, I think they all think they're wonderful. I think Caroline thinks she's great, and so I don't set about playing somebody like mean or bad. There's some reason why they behave the way they do. And so it's just an acting part. That's what we all do. The fact they all came in very quickly at the same time, and I did do all three within 4 months. It kind of concentrated me to actually aim to be different. Whereas perhaps if they'd been spread out, I'd have been caught out. I'd have gone, oh God, that's a bit like, oh. So I had that preparation time to work on the differences and insist. Actually, I got quite bossy and said, I'm not going to play that again. That's reserved for that character. Don't make me do it again. So there was a bit of to and fro with the writers on both teams, really. And they ended up being totally. I mean, Jason Sudeikis wouldn't write a mean character if you tried. I mean, you're not really mean. So that's such a happy, generous show. Anyway, yeah, it's interesting when you know what you're going to play next. It sort of does color the way you prepare for another role.
I just did a movie where the characters are kind of similar. I did a movie where I played a character, and I'm about to do another one where the characters could be similar. And it's so funny because the first thing I decided is, I'm going to wear this totally different wig. for it. And that's a great entry point to start with.
Yeah, it makes you feel different, even if nobody else notices. It makes you feel different, and you behave differently.
I concur on the hair. I'm working on 3 different things right now, and I have a short gray wig for one, a long brown wig for one, and this is my succession hair. And in the last 2 weeks, I've been on each show, and I'm flying to different cities, and before the camera rolls, I just look down and I just see what the hair is, and then there I am.
So true.
If I didn't have the wigs, I'd be in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what, back to what they were saying, it's such a group effort. So you start, again, as a guest star, you come in and you meet usually costumes first. And they think, what do you think? What do you think? What do you want? And you slowly start building it. And then you get in hair and makeup. And hopefully there's a conversation between all of them so that we're all discovering the same thing at the same time. And then all of a sudden something happens with your hair or a wig or the makeup, or you get to have, smudgy lipstick or whatever it is, just those things that help you make a character. And then it all starts to come together and your breathing changes. That's when it's kind of fun. You realize that you're speaking from a different place than you might have, or that Maggie spoke from really down here and another character might speak from here. And you just do those basic things, but it's with the group. And definitely it's suddenly you have the exterior helps the interior. I think, especially because it's so fast as a guest actor.
Yeah.
I would love to say it all starts from inside, but it doesn't. It does not. Like, help me. And they do. And it's great.
I think the outside kicks back into the inside, doesn't it? Whichever way you start, your inside will become involved. But it's kind of, you look at yourself in this new image and something comes to you, and then you kind of get inside and take it on from the inside.
I have one last question for all of you. You've been kind of answering it this whole time, because I would love to hear from each of you one piece of advice that you would give the working actors out there who are watching. As I said, you've given plenty of advice already, which I think is very magnanimous and telling. But if you had to distill one thing to say to someone who's out there right now trying to work and trying to act, what would it be?
I would say to keep working on your craft. I went to drama school, and I think of our bodies just like a violin player or a piano player. They're practicing, even at the highest levels. They're practicing every day. So whatever you can do, even once you start working, getting in workshops, improv workshops, maybe working with a coach. I mean, a lot of times if you're working on good material, the act of working on that is working on your craft. But I would just say never stop working on your craft. It is a craft. And I think a lot of times in our culture, especially American culture, everything else is a craft except acting. Oh, I'm a good liar. I can act. I could do that. My thing is, look at it. If you look at it as a craft and you put in that work and that respect to that craft, you'll get it back.
I would say know your. Oh, sorry. It's because we're overlapping. I keep interrupting people. I'm sorry. Carry on.
I was just going to say, I kind of already said this, but okay. Do you want me to? Okay. I can only see you in my frame, Harriet, so I feel like you should. But okay. I think the best thing a young actor can do, or someone who's doing a lot of auditioning, it's kind of what I said before about shooting. Prepare. Do your work. Learn your lines. Take the time. I never got a job when I just kind of like grabbed the sides and ran in and tried to read them. The more time you spend and the more you prepare, the more you can let go when you're in an audition or, doing a screen test or whatever. And, my life motto was given to me by a 95-year-old my friend's mother who raised 9 children, and her life motto is just keep going. Just keep going. It's hard. it's hard to break through. And anyone who's been in the business a while, we go through a lot of ups and downs, but just keep on. It's worth it. I think if you can find your way even to a little corner of the business, it's worth it.
Mm.
I would say one of the hard things is knowing your own value and your own worth, because the industry can make you feel pretty small sometimes, or if you don't get the work, or if you don't get a job, or it can, if your only yardstick is how good am I in this industry, or who am I in this industry, then that can be very damaging. You've got to value yourself and have a life outside where you have worth, and you know that worth, and you bring that into the room. And you might be playing a servant part or something like that. That doesn't mean you're a servant. You know, just hang on to who you are and your own self-worth, and don't let the industry beat you down.
I think emotionally, I agree. I used to always say to young actors, you are enough, only because it was always told to me. I would think I was enough. I had to do this, have this accessory, never be me. And I think emotionally, you are enough. So I say, make it personal, keep it personal, and know that you're enough within that character. And then technically, I think there's just a wonderful little acting. It's not even a trick. It's like an acting truth that we forget, which is, what is your moment before? And what that moment is before, especially in television and film, completely informs how you walk into the room, what you have in your hand, what you had on your shoulder, whether it's falling off your shoulder, what mood you were in. And that when you're just feeling like, I don't know how to connect to these lines and say these lines, what were you just doing? And then you think, oh, I was just coming from this irritating argument with blah. And then they say, put that into your acting. And so you can come in with some of that. And it's such a little helpful, like, diving board to jump into the scene. So you're enough. And what's your moment before?
Sorry, I kept muting because my cat Gary was walking around yelling.
Gary.
I as a comedian who's lucky to get acting jobs, to other comedians who want acting jobs, I would say try to think of a hit podcast if you can, or learn computer coding, something that you can pay your rent with between acting jobs. And then when you get it, I just always feel like this is such a great, fun job where you get to spend all day with a bunch of great people, and we have a great union. So I just try to enjoy every opportunity, because how many people in the world get to have a job like this? It's so great. So, but that's not really acting advice, because I can't, I'm just absorbing everyone else's acting advice. And then that's what I'd say to comedians who want to do it. So
I think that's good advice for anybody, truthfully, I would say. So also, you're an actress.
I'm very fortunate to get to have acted. I'm not trying to be self-deprecating, but just like it is a big deal if, like the other women here, if you can have like a career and longevity, that's really amazing. But even if let's say you get 3 acting jobs your whole life, like, still, what an amazing thing to get to do. And so many people want to do it and don't get to. So
I'm curious, Marcia, as someone who doesn't consider yourself an actress, as you said, even though we are all saying you are, what did you call on when you were playing that character that comes from maybe such a different world than or present? What did you call on to allow you to go there?
I unfortunately, but luckily, very limited amount of exposure to like an actual very disturbed, not drug dealer, but predator, I guess, in someone I knew. So just thinking about how awful and creepy it is to be around somebody like that. But mostly I think just in the script and in Sam's directing. And also Zendaya was very good at acting scared of Lori. So yeah, it was, but I think Sam may have known someone similar to that character. But I have met someone who's doesn't have a conscience, and it is very scary. And they don't usually come out of the woodwork like, like the werewolf or something. They're usually pretty manipulative, and which is scary. So
I can't wait to see that show.
What's that?
I said I can't wait to see the other shows.
Oh, yes, please. I mean, so, right. To Marcia's earlier point about the voting, sometimes not everybody sees everything. Like, that's a great thing to do, to see everything. And I've seen all of it, and you're all amazing. And on behalf of the SAG-AFTRA Foundation, I want to thank you for sharing your experiences, your process and craft with our audience, your time, and really your generosity, which has been overwhelming. So best of luck to you at the Emmys. Thank you so much. Thank you to everybody who's watching. And yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you for
Same
having
here.
thanks, Carla.